All right. So everyone should have seen the notification that the meeting has begun. Recording has begun. So we're going to go ahead and roll right into the agenda. Today's Bicycle Advisory Commission, and if you can bring up the agenda for me, please. All right. So once again, I wanted to say welcome to everyone for joining us. As you know, we've moved to a bi-monthly meeting cadence. We're going to talk about a couple of things today. One is the commission administration. We do recognize that we have a few vacancies on our commission, and we are looking to start the recruitment efforts to robustly get more people involved in the conversation. We're going to talk about the community events, and we have a few speakers joining us today to highlight a few events that are going to be taking place in the next 30 to 60 days. And then we're going to talk about general agency updates and projects from DOT, regarding the complete streets and let's say Baltimore Greenway Trails, bike and ped count program, and recently completed projects and upcoming projects. And this will, after that, open it up to other topics at large that we'll be able to discuss, and then we will close the meeting out. So let's kind of talk about the commission administration. We recognize that we have several positions that are open, and especially at-large positions for community members to join. So what we've done is created an application, and this is the first step in that process. You may use the QR code to take you to an application that will request, I think it's about 10 questions. It's asking basic information, essentially who you are, why you want to join the commission, and what are you hoping to get out of it. That is the first step, as I stated. Once we get all of the applicants, and this will be an ongoing rolling application process. As we receive applications, we will review those, including the resume and cover letter that will be sent to Mr. James Turner. And that's also detailed in the application itself. Once we receive those applications, we will then begin an interview process so that we can make sure that we are gauging true interest and viability of joining the commission to help move forward the initiatives that we are presenting. Ultimately, once you are selected, you will have to be sworn in and appear in front of the city council and sign the commission book so that we can make it all official. I will open it up real quick to any questions regarding this process. All right, appears to be no questions, so we'll go ahead and move on. All right, so community events. James, do we have a person who's assigned to take over this portion? Otherwise, I can read what's on the screen, but I think we all can see that. I thought do we have folks who are joining us to discuss each one of these events today?
Sorry, Eli, would you be able to talk about these?
I don't think that we have anyone specific for these, although I do know we've got Quentin from the Rails to Trails is here for a later agenda item, and so may be able to speak briefly to some of the events if you're up for it. But yeah, no, we just always like to include the Baltimore Bike Party. And the Bike Collective, the Baltimore Youth Kinetic Energy Project, which had been based, I think, in Greenmount West. I think they're now over on 25th Street, and they're celebrating, I believe it is their 10-year anniversary, and so organizing an event to recognize that big milestone for the organization. And then, of course, we pulled the details. It's not for a little bit, but wanted to put it on people's radar that Bike to Work Day is, or excuse me, Bike to Work Week, I think, is scheduled for I guess that second or third week of May, from May 12th to May 18th, with official Bike to Work Day being the Friday of that week, if I'm correct. So, but yeah, I'll hand it over to Quentin if you're up for you know, saying anything about the events from that your organization is involved with.
Sure thing. Thank you, Eli. Hello, everyone. My name is Quentin Betts. I'm the Baltimore Project Manager for Rails to Trails Conservancy. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces on here. I can speak towards a few of these events. So the Bike Collective event on March 16th is a part of the Baltimore Greenway Trails Coalition Year of Rides. So each month of the summer, we have a different partner organization come and host a trail ride that pretty much highlights the different corridors of the Greenway Trails Network. And this started last summer. We had a very good turnout. So we're restarting that on March 16th. We should have more details on the route coming out this Friday. And then following that, we have the Black People Rise Bikes annual Cyclovia. That will be happening at Carroll Park on April 27th, which is an event that we also partner with on them for our Celebrate Trails Day. That's our Earth Day celebration annually. We have that nationally. So there's going to be a few events popping up around the city of organizations highlighting their trail corridors and pretty much bringing some awareness to those projects. So stay on the lookout for more information of that. And I may speak to this a little bit more in the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Quentin. Appreciate that. Now, I know this is not a fully inclusive list of events from the community. Are there any other events that you can drop into the chat that we will make sure that we add to the website to share with folks? And if you want to speak briefly to that now, I'll give you a moment to do so. All right, I don't see any additional hands up. So we will go ahead to the next agenda. I believe we have Kenny Perry from Rec and Parks to talk about the trail maintenance today.
Yes. Hi there, everyone. Hi, my name is Kenny Perry. I'm the Baltimore City Recreation Parks trail naturalist, one of two. My colleague Sarah Decker is here as well. But just wanted to speak briefly on our bike relevant trail updates with Rec and Parks. So probably the most notable is going to be our Gwynns Falls Trail renovation project, which is scheduled to wrap up in August. April. It started in August, September, but wrapping in April. So this project included some, sorry, dog going. This project included some repaving, some repairs, and installation of some new infrastructure, including bike-friendly gate bollard combos. So in a lot of places we had just swing gates that were difficult for bikes to get through, but we advocated for including some bollards that allow access. Sorry about that. And I think the other items are going to be our, I'm so sorry about that. Our new trail utility vehicles. As you can see here, I have our snow response included this deploying these new vehicles, and those allowed us to get out onto the trails just as everyone, as DOT is hitting the streets, we are hitting the trails to salt and plow during those snow events. So as we build out our team and our fleets, we're hopefully able to respond very quickly to the snow events and get the trails clear for the people who use them. For this one, we did Jones Falls pretty much from the county line all the way to Druid Hill, and we were able to do that within a day. And we had 2 snow events back to back, so we definitely got some practice there. But yeah, I just wanted to maybe introduce my colleague, Sarah, if she's able to jump on. But so now we have a team of 2 trail naturalists, and then we also just hired a seasonal maintenance aide to help our trail team as well. So we're building our capacity, really getting into the spring cleaning mode, and say hello if you see us on the trails. But we hope to do some great work and work closely with our cyclist trail users this year. So every time I like to end with any trail issues that y'all run into, please feel free to use the 311 application, and those will come to us to resolve. So thank you all for the time, and looking forward to hearing more about our great projects going on.
Thank you very much for that, Kenny. That was great news to hear. All right, we'll go ahead and move to our next agenda item. And we're going to be hearing from the Department of Transportation.
Hey guys, hopefully you hear me well. My name is James Turner. I'm a policy analyst with the Department of Transportation. I'm just going to give you guys a few updates related to bicycles and complete streets and just general transportation funding for the Maryland General Assembly 2024 legislative session. In January, the mayor and the director and a whole bunch of other local governments spoke in front of the House Appropriations Committee in Annapolis to discuss impacts of HUR cuts on the city. This actually happened the same day. I want to say it was either the morning before or the same morning in which the governor announced that he was going to actually supplement the HUR cuts that we heard about with the general funds in FY25. That doesn't mean that we're going to have continued funding going forward. So we've been working with the House Appropriations Committee to make sure that we can continue to receive the funding that was passed in the previous legislative session. And if you guys want to see that hearing, you can just go to the General Assembly website.
I do apologize. James, your audio is kind of going in and out. Is it just me, or is anyone else experiencing that as well?
I was not having any issues hearing James, but
Okay, all right. Just wanted to touch base. Maybe my connection. So apologize for that, James. Go ahead and continue.
No, I appreciate it, because if I was going in and out, you guys couldn't hear my voice. So it's important. It's important that you guys can hear me when I'm presenting. So I'm going to highlight a few notable bills. You see on the right side, there's obviously, I want to say there's 2,000 bills right now between the House and Senate. And I'm sure there's a lot more. There are a lot more, I know, related to bicycles, but these are some that I thought about that I like, well, not necessarily like, but that would affect this committee. Yes, Ellen, I am a policy analyst with the Department of Transportation. I work out of the director's office. So the first bill is House Bill 511. This is by Delegate Boyce. It actually kind of changes vehicle laws for bicycles. So bicycles have to, if I'm reading it correctly, bicycles will have to just check both ways before crossing intersections, and just be a requirement. I'm not sure if that, I'm sure that's something we already do as bicycle riders. I know I would check both ways before crossing, because I don't want to get hit by a car, but this is just enshrining it in the law. The other one is HB 0156, and it doesn't seem like the right number. So that's electric bicycle rebate and voucher programs. This is by Delegate Robin Lewis, not Jazz Lewis. And this is going to be a rebate and voucher program for electric bicycle purchases. It's going to be at a certain income level that MDOT will be able to determine. The rebate and voucher is going to be up to $2,000 for a bicycle. There'll be certain costs for repair, maintenance, battery replacement that could be supplemented by MDOT if you hit that income level. The next bill I want to highlight is HB 135. It's cross-filed with the Senate bill, with Senate Bill 593. This is by Delegate Charkoudian in Montgomery County. She is creating a bill that is going to require MDTA to look at bicycle and pedestrian safety features when changing their infrastructure. So MDTA are the people that do our bridges around the state, our tunnels, our highways. So very forward thinking. There is an amendment that she put in. There is an amendment that she put in recently that is going to exclude tunnels. So if you were hoping to bike through A95 tunnel, I don't like driving through A95, but if you were looking to do that, you're not going to be able to do that now, but maybe some point in the future you might be able to, if that's your thing. Yeah, Jed, right after I'm done, please feel free. HB 111, and that's also cross-filed with SB 077. This is bicycle plate vehicles, unicycles authorization and requirements. This is just a general bicycle bill by Dana Jones, who's in Baltimore County. Jed, if you could speak more to that, because that's eluding me right now. But we have submitted positive testimony on that. And then the last one, I think, is not necessarily bike related, but it is trying to prevent accidents, is HB 0344, which is a Vision Zero Advisory Commission establishment by Delegate Carr. This is going to establish a Vision Zero committee in the state level. It doesn't have a super big effect on the city in general, but it is good to know that we will have partners in the state looking at how we can reduce pedestrian and bicyclist deaths by vehicles. And that's it. Chad, if you would talk a little bit more, HB 511 and then 111.
Sure. So HB 511, it's known in other places as like the Idaho stop. It's called a bicycle safety yield. And what it does is it changes the treatment of stop signs for bicyclists to a yield condition instead of a full stop. And there's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration research on this that shows that when bicyclists come to a full stop and have to put down both feet at a stop sign and then try to get back on their bike and ride through the stop sign, you often have a lot of conflict with cars that are impatient and try to drive around that bicyclist at the stop sign, honk at them. And the bicyclists themselves often has balance or instability issues right in that moment, and it takes them longer to get through the intersection. And so what this legislation would do is sort of permit someone to slowly approach an intersection, look both ways, ensure the coast is clear, and then proceed through that intersection without fully stopping and putting both feet on the ground. It's kind of the natural behavior. If you've ever ridden a bike, most people kind of do this anyway. And so it is just matching the sort of legal definition of what to do at an intersection on a bicycle with accepted best practice. It's legal in 11 different states. DC and Delaware are neighbors it's currently legal in. And in Delaware, it was shown to reduce intersection crashes by 23% in the first year after implementation. And then the second one, the plate vehicles, HB 0111, bicycles plate vehicles on sidewalks. Right now, the default in Maryland is that it is illegal to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. It is also illegal in local code with certain exceptions in Baltimore City to ride a bicycle on a sidewalk. All this does is flip the default from illegal to legal statewide. So it wouldn't actually impact Baltimore City at present since we have a local code that says it's illegal, but it basically just flips this default across the state. And that is important because in research done on barriers to bicycling, particularly in communities of color, sidewalk riding has been identified as something that has been unjustly used by police to stop people of color and essentially harass them unconstitutionally. And it has been identified nationally as a piece of legislation that's sort of an easy win to flip that default and sort of force jurisdictions that might not have a stance on this at the moment to consider those stances and have those debates instead of by default having a law that might unfairly or inequitably penalize certain individuals. And so we're supportive of that legislation, even though it doesn't immediately impact anything, in Baltimore City.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciated. Alan, feel free to take over from here or open up for questions, whatever you please.
Yeah, I saw that there was a request in the chat to have an update regarding these bills at the next meeting. We will definitely make sure that we are tracking and provide that update at the next public meeting that we hold. Any other questions?
James, I am just a little curious for like my understanding. DOT with this kind of legislation, I assume that I guess I assume the DOT sort of monitors policy that might affect transportation in Baltimore City and sort of maybe takes a position on some but not all of those policies. Is that accurate, or is that sort of incomplete in any kind of way that would be helpful to fill in my understanding?
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, the department, what we do is we route all our opinions through the mayor's office. The mayor's office of government relations, because in Annapolis's eyes, we are the mayor's office and the mayor's office only. So that's how we handle legislation. So if we see something we like, don't like, or want to say neutral on, we notify the mayor's office, and then take guidance from them.
Thank you.
So yes, the mayor's office of government relations is definitely involved heavily in all of these bills, whether it's affecting DOT, DPW, or any of these city agencies, or a city as a whole at large. So they help to coordinate the city's response to some of these. And as you stated, Eli, that while we are aware of a lot of them, we don't have to necessarily testify on all of them. We'll provide written response to all of them. All right, so with that, we'll go into the next slide. Thank you.
And I think, and Alan, if I can jump in for a second, I did realize John just mentioned I did miss a part. I forgot to make a slide on it, but for all of you guys who don't know, we have had some DOT staffing changes. Obviously, Patrick Patterson is not the lead bike planner anymore. I need to follow up with him, but him and his wife is in the military and the Air Force. She had an opportunity to move to Germany to do some pretty cool things over there. So I'm pretty sure they took that, but I will have to follow up to check up on that. The other thing is Michael Cabete, who was working at our Dockless vehicles manager, is no longer here. So it will go back to Caitlin Schaefer. You guys all know Caitlin and love Caitlin. So if any Dockless vehicle needs will go to her. John Leichman is going to be continuing as in his bike planner role. You'll see him later on in this meeting. WSP, the contractor, has been contracted to provide additional support for the bike program as needed. And then hiring for a new lead bike planner is in progress right now. So any updates we have for staffing related to biking at DOT, you guys will be updated here. And I will pass it back to Alan to pass it to Benita, I think.
Yeah, Philip is going to share the screen first.
Okay. So we'll turn it over to Philip. Is he going to be talking about the bike facilities web map?
That's right.
That's correct. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Are you able to share, or do I need to? Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just.
I just want to make sure I didn't have to give you
screens
permission
going here.
for
Yeah.
anything, so we're good.
Appreciate it. So, good afternoon, everybody. Just going to briefly run through some of the stuff we're doing over in the DOT GIS department. I'm one of the latest GIS hires for the Department of Transportation in the City of Baltimore, and I work for Benita. So we've got a map gallery available for general public. It's located on our website page. You click right over there, up to the side, and it'll land you here. And with one more click on that little link right there, you're going to get to this page, which has a number of transportation-related maps available for the general public to view. But the one this group probably cares the most about would be this one right here, the bike facilities map. This right here. And it's got a couple features available. So if you click up in the top over there, you'll get a legend of our different facilities. We added recently, I believe, 6 new facilities that got mapped out most recently. just color coded by their categorization. And then it's also got a couple of extra layers available if you're interested that you can, make the eyeball turn on and add them to the map if you're interested. And then I think the most interesting feature of this is that you can kind of zoom in and out of the map, click around and get some information on those different facilities. Let's see here. Like this area where we recently added, I believe was right there. Yep. This facility to our GIS. It's just some pretty basic information. But now, available on the web. And then we've got a couple other web maps available that are related. One of which I guess I can speak to real quick, and then I'll hand off to Benita, would be our plow priority map, which just shows the different bike facilities that we prioritize when there is a snow event so that we can get those cleared out and available to cyclists again. And then it's, again, got all of the same features available as that last app. And then there's also a more specific corral and rack map that I'll hand off to Benita. She can speak to that better.
Thank you, Philip. Can I share my screen now?
Yes, you should have access to do that.
Thank you. So the snow plowing map and this Baltimore City bike racks and scooter parking map, these two maps are not available on the DOT's website. But in case anybody is interested to get the access, we can share the link with you. So this interactive map again has different layers. And you can see we have the bike facilities GIS there, which just Philip showed you. And we also have the location of a scooter corrals. And the last time we updated those information was in 2021, and we will reach out to Caitlin if there is any new changes in the locations. We also have two layers related to bike racks installed by Department of Transportation, and these are in green color. So again, you can click on those dots and you can see what particular address that bike rack is installed and how many bike racks counts are there. And we are also having another bike racks additional layer. This is not created by the GIS team, DOT GIS team, but there is an outside entity who collected some information as a research project. They provided the information to us. So these black dots are showing the bike racks which are installed privately by maybe the homeowner associations or bicycle shops and other entities. So this map shows a comprehensive locations of different kind of bike racks maintained by DOT as well as the outside entities. So these two maps are not available on DOT's website, but we are more than happy to share the link with you. So this is all what I have to talk about.
Thank you for that, Benita. I see we have a couple of questions floating around in the chat, but I see that both Eli and James are responding. So thank you very much for that.
I was going to ask Benita. I actually hadn't had the chance to take a look at the bike rack map yet. I would love to see a link for that in the chat if you or Phil are able to drop one in
Sure.
To share.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I can drop a link. I'm happy to drop a link to Eli. And then also, I don't know what the standard practice is for these meetings, but if the slides are made available afterwards, there are QR and links available
on the slides
for all of those maps in the slides as well. So.
Perfect.
Thank you for that. All right, so then we will go ahead and move to the next topic, which is dockless vehicle update, and I believe Caitlin Schaefer will be providing us that update today.
Before we move on, Alan, I don't know if we've got time for questions. It did look like Bill Marker had his hand raised for a question. I'm not sure if it was specific to the bicycle facility.
It was.
My apologies, Bill. I did not see that, so thank you for that, Eli.
I'm sorry, and I apologize if I'm wrong, but just a quick look at where the bike racks are. It looked like it was a definition of the white L. I just think that raises some questions.
So looking at the previous map of where the bike racks were located, you felt that there was some.
It's just a quick look, and I'm not, just pointing out, but we can get back to that map. And if I'm wrong, but living in Pigtown, I live in the thing, but where all the black dots were, they went up north on Charles and they went out east.
Bill,
I think that's.
I can add some context to the bike rack installation process.
I meant the racks, not the routes. I'm sorry.
Right, the bike rack installation process. Historically, that was driven by individual requests from business owners, and so, irrespective of where the locations may seem to be, they are not located as part of a city-driven effort. They're a reactive piece that are done by request of business owners. So what we would say is that if you see a serious dearth of bike rack locations in your neighborhood, encourage some of the local businesses and property owners to reach out to the city and request them.
That's fine. There certainly are some in Pigtown. I don't know if they're on the map or not. It was just a passing reaction to what I saw, and enough said.
Appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. And thank you for that context, Sean. And for those who want to look at that a little closer, Phil did drop the link to the map viewer in the chat.
Hi all. Clea Baumhofer here. I realize my slides have jumped in front of Caitlin's on the agenda here, so I'll just go through them quickly and then turn it over to her for micromobility. So I'll just introduce myself. As I said, Clea Baumhofer. I am the Complete Streets Manager for the City of Baltimore as of June 2023. Also an engineer supervisor in the traffic division with DOT. And I'm just sharing some updates from our Complete Streets Advisory Committee re-kickoff, which we had in December of 2023. And we will be having quarterly meetings moving forward. And next slide. So just, I'm sure I'm in some ways preaching to the choir here, but in terms of what is Complete Streets, why is it so important, and what are the guiding principles? A complete street is a street that serves the needs of all roadway users and fosters travel that is safe and comfortable for all modes. And from our adopted manual, the guiding principles we have in Baltimore for Complete Streets are address safety first, be accessible by everyone, improve mobility, ensure equity, reflect Baltimore's unique communities, and be sustainable. Next. So just taking a little bit of a deeper dive into some of those, looking at Complete Streets and safety, we really do have some safety needs in the city. Looking at our data from 2022, which is the most recent complete data set we have, we had 49 fatal crashes in 2022 and over 5,000 injury crashes in 2022. Just sharing some of the stats that really emphasize how important our initiatives are. And next, particularly germane to this group, on the next slide, looking at complete streets and accessibility and mobility. This particular pick may be familiar for some of you all. I believe it is initially sourced from JED, but this just really highlights when we're installing these. Oh, Graham, thank you. These separated bike facilities, they're really an asset to the community and are not just serving one mode. We have scooter usage, we have accessibility usage, and of course bike usage as well, and just highlights what an asset these types of improvements are for the community. Next slide. So just touching on a little bit of the Complete Streets process and how the manual is meant to drive change throughout the city. We have our project prioritization process and how we select our projects. In the manual, it sort of lays out additional criteria, not just looking at the literal state of the pavement, for example, but also considering factors like safety, crash history, equity, and a more holistic look at how we choose our projects. Then in our project delivery process, we are looking at leveraging ongoing work to implement Complete Streets goals throughout the city. And then of course for design guidance, how we are, the literal designs we're putting forth for the roads and public space. Next slide. So touching on some project examples in 2023 of how this process is working. These are both examples partnering with the resurfacing group at DOT. And so resurfacing, they are specifically looking for roadways that are cracked and need a repaving. And then within that, my team will take a look, do a Complete Streets review, and also recommend some safety improvements along with the repaving efforts. So these can just be from the basics. On the right, you see we just have high visibility crosswalks and right sizing travel lanes, bringing them into that preferred 10-foot and sort of narrowing lanes to encourage slower speeds. Or it can be more significant changes to the roadway, building out the separated bike lane network. Hartford Road from Northern Parkway up to the county line was a great example of this in 2023, allowing us to extend some existing bike facility and continue that part of the separated bike lane network. Next slide. So some thoughts on the purpose of the committee overall. We are looking to provide guidance on furthering Complete Streets goals throughout the city and improve coordination between city agencies and other entities. There are some required city agencies on the committee, notably, of course, DOT, DPW, Department of Planning, the Department of Housing and Community Development, and the Fire Department. And then we also have additional partners, Rec and Parks, MDOT MTA, and the Mayor's Office, among others. And so our goals for 2024, we will be coming out with the Complete Streets annual report, which will cover 2022 and 2023. We will be hosting quarterly meetings for the committee. And I'll just put in a little plug. Next meeting anticipated for late March, also on WebEx. I'll be setting that date here soon. If you check our website, just the Complete Streets website on the Baltimore City Department of Transportation. We post the WebEx link there. The date and the agenda and minutes will be posted as well. And then just looking forward in 2024 to collaborating with our Vision Zero team and really looking at some of our high crash corridors and looking to implement some of the designs that we developed in 2023. We have some great initiatives, our neighborhood traffic calming, where we really focus on some neighborhoods with equity needs and do traffic calming on local streets, is one example, but just of plans that we have been developing, and now we are looking to move into the construction phase and bringing on some new construction contracts. And you know, when the weather, we're starting to warm up a little bit, but looking forward to pushing some of those onto the ground in the upcoming months. And that's it for me, unless there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Claire. Are there any questions for Claire at this moment?
One question, sorry. I feel like I'm always the guy with the questions, but what is the composition of the advisory commission? Is that city staff across agencies? Does that include sort of external sort of stakeholders?
Yeah, so there are those required partners, as I said, and each agency just nominates a member, and then so those are like the formal committee members, but then the invite list is a little bit wider, and it is open to the public as well, the meetings. So yeah, the manual lays out those 5 formal agencies, but then there are some, you know, additional input from other partners.
Cool, thank you. I'm like, as you're saying it, I'm like, you did say this, and it just sort of like slipped past me there. So thank you.
Sure thing.
All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move to the next topic on the agenda, micromobility updates.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, Caitlin, we
Okay.
can hear you. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin. I work with DOT and currently helping them with their micromobility program. Like James mentioned, the previous manager left DOT, so this position is open. It's actually open to applications now. So if you know of people in your professional networks that are excited about scooters and e-bikes, that position is open for DOT right now, but I'm going to give some updates in the meantime, just on the program and kind of where it's headed at the start of 2024. So to begin the year, we actually had a departure of one of our permit holders unexpectedly. Micromobility is still an emerging industry, and a lot of times there are changes and consolidations in the companies, but we're still fortunate to have our longest term provider and one of our most consistent and compliant providers, Spin, operating here, and there's still over almost 3,000 scooters and 150 e-bikes, and they just let me know this afternoon that we're getting another 50 e-bikes in the next month, and they're actually turning over their entire fleet here, so we'll have the same vehicle and scooter types that are available in DC. So we're getting new scooters and some more e-bikes in the next couple of months. So things to look forward to as the weather is getting nicer. So you can go to the next slide. So trips are continuing. People are still scooting. In Baltimore, there was over 1.3 million trips in 2023. It's still going strong. Over the past couple of years, you can kind of see in 2024, which is if you can see the colors on the screen, it's the green color or the most forward and bolded line on here, but you can kind of see as we're creeping forward into the year, ridership is increasing. We've had a lot of dips. This is actually one of the first, well, a first in a couple of years that we had any snow that really impacts riderships, and we see big dips, but things are moving along as they have in the past couple of years. So if you go to the next slide. This is just a general, like an average comparison. So the top table is average weekly trips by scooters and e-bikes in the city over the past 3 years. You can see we're a little bit lower than 2021, but in last year, 2023, we were about on par or a little bit higher average than in 2022. So still a strong ridership. A very competitive city that micromobility operators want to work in. So for this year, we've really only had January as a full month. And like I said, ridership was pretty impacted by snow events. So we can actually track and monitor the number of trips daily in the city using our data platform. So you can see the big dips on days when there's snow and ice. So we had a little bit lower average weekly trips in January of 2024, but hoping, especially this week with warmer weather, we'll see trips starting to grow again. So next slide, please. So just another look at the daily rides per vehicle. So this is the number of rides on an individual scooter. So you can kind of see that the average has been about 1 ride per scooter per day. We are trying to grow that, especially as it decreased at the end of last year. Just with more vehicles available and not as great weather, we saw kind of a dip. And we want every scooter or e-bike that's out on the streets of Baltimore to be ridden at least once per day, getting them moving, keeping them in good maintenance condition, and preventing vandalism when a scooter sits blocking a sidewalk or blocking a door or something. Next slide, please. This might be my last slide, but so we are currently having a user survey. We've done this survey every year since the start of the program, so we have a lot of good attitudes and trends over time, and we use the survey to kind of inform regulations for the program, the number of permits we offer, the permit holders that we decide to permit. So it would be really great if people in this meeting could take this survey and also share it with either people you work with or other people in your neighborhoods and communities. It's only been available for, I'd say, maybe 2 weeks now, and we have a couple hundred respondents already, and we usually get like 900 or 1,000 responses to the survey. So it's really useful information for the program and for DOT. So this might be my last slide. Oh, no, one more slide, I think. So just kind of reiterating the importance of collecting feedback on the micromobility program. It's new and emerging, so we use opportunities like surveys and our quarterly stakeholder meetings to collect feedback, update regulations and permitting, get good public commenting, and then renew and permit new companies or existing companies to operate here. So lots to look forward to in the spring and summer for this program. And if you ever have any questions, you can contact me directly, or we have our own DOT webpage for the Dockless program, and the rules and regulations are the first thing on there if you're ever curious.
Thank you very much for that, Caitlin. I did have a quick question before I turn it over. I saw a couple of hands in the group. I can go back to that slide for me real quick. Regarding the hubs for both the scooters and the bikes, has there been a shift in the either location or a reduction in the number of hubs? I know that we're getting more vehicles or refreshing those, but has there been any shift in the location of these hubs?
When you say hubs, are you talking about the parking corrals or like where?
Yes, essentially where one
specifically?
can go find one.
Okay.
Last year I saw them everywhere, but now they're more, and they seem to be more concentrated in different areas. So I'm just curious if that was a actual shift, or was it just that them being everywhere was not the ideal approach? So just trying to understand.
Well, yeah, this is an interesting observation. So any parking corral that DOT has installed is still up and running. So corrals that we installed back when we first started doing corrals like 2 or 3 years ago are still in the ground today, and they should all be present. If you open the Spin app, where they're going through some data software updates right now, but you should be able to see the corrals. I let the GIS team know that I'll send them my updated corral locations and bike rack locations because from 2021, we've seen pretty substantial growth. There's about 80 or 90 corrals in the ground right now, which is certainly not enough to cover all neighborhoods of the city. But I think, especially as a new program manager comes on board, that would definitely be something that the city is looking to grow substantially.
Thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate that. I saw that Jed did have his hand up. So Jed, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Cool, thank you. Thanks, Caitlin. I had just a couple quick questions. One, with super pedestrian leaving, obviously there's still scooters we're finding on the streets. One, who do we report those to? And then two, I feel like the performance bond to find the companies, was maybe not scheduled high enough for like a company completely vacating the city. I'm just wondering if there's any consideration to maybe make that bond a little bit higher in the future to ensure we recapture those funds. So that's question one. Question two is 311 system. I know there have been a lot of advocates for trying to get scooters reportable into the 311 system. For a variety of reasons, we don't want to put the burden on the city for processing those complaints, but I know Spin and some others had talked about in other cities 311 complaints being able to go into the 311 system, but in the back end go directly to the scooter companies. And so the city can see how many are being filed, but is not actually doing all the legwork on those requests. I'm just wondering if there's any update on that discussion.
Yeah, okay. So the first question about super pedestrian. So reporting the vehicles, if you are to see a super pedestrian, which I'm sure many of you have, you can send the location to me directly using my DOT email. We're actually with the communications team about to put out a community form. So instead of emailing me, you could just use a survey link to report a location to make sure those are getting collected efficiently. For the penalty for departing the city, I'm sure it's something that DOT will be looking into, especially as we're working towards updating the permit regulations for this coming year before July. And then final question regarding the 311 reporting. I think that's been an ongoing conversation that's had a few roadblocks internally, but I think that the current system or way that the program works with the Dockless program works with 311 requests is that if a scooter's reported, the 311 team has the contacts for the company and can direct people to report them directly to the company. And I think, at least in the short term, that's the way it's going to continue to operate. I understand the interest and concerns about getting it more integrated. So I think it's something, definitely a continued conversation for now.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I think, there's just an accessibility challenge for folks having to like download the apps and maybe even create an account to report the scooters. And the companies sometimes need a photograph of the actual scooter number, for those complaints. And you can't submit that if it's like thrown over a fence or something and you can't see it. And so, yeah, just having a more accessible way, I think would be super helpful. So I appreciate you still working on, thinking that through.
Yeah, it's definitely ongoing, and I appreciate you bringing this up again.
From the chat, there was a question regarding the removal of scooters from waterways. How are those to be reported?
So the easiest way or the quickest way to have them removed is to contact the companies directly. So you can report them through the app, which is what Jed was alluding to, where you need the picture with the location and the QR code. But they also have a customer service number and email for Baltimore that are on the Dockless program website, and we try to get them out in the community as much as we can for people that don't have smartphones or ways to take pictures with their phones. So you can look up the contact information for the companies and then report them directly that you've spotted them there. Or if it's a recurring issue and you have reported it to the companies, you can let DOT know.
So first point of contact in the instance would be the company themselves, and then follow up with DOT through 311.
Or through the community email or my email directly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding this? Well, thank you very much, Caitlin. We'll go ahead and move on to the project updates. And I believe we have Mr. Quentin Batts, who's going to be speaking about the Rails to Trails projects. That'll be followed up with Mr. John Leishman talking about the Boston Street Connector, and then Ethan Cohen speaking on Warner Street.
Thank you. Hello again, everyone. Quentin Batts, Rails to Trails Baltimore's project manager. I'm going to speak a little bit about the Trail Counter program that we're in partnership with DOT on. So I believe about a year or two ago, we awarded the Department of Transportation with a $41,000 grant to purchase 4 new pedestrian and bicycle counters. This we think is going to be really good for the city. These supposed to be a more updated version, so they should give more accurate information, and we're looking forward to getting that so we can share it with the state. At the moment, the trail counters have been purchased, so we're currently just waiting to get them all installed. So hopefully this summer they'll all be installed at 4 new locations. Next slide. So this is our first location. You can go back one. Was that the? Okay, maybe that was the first slide. Okay, so this is our first location. This is at the Jones Falls Switchbacks on Falls Road. We're looking at putting it on. We're still kind of looking at which will be the best size, but we're thinking the other side, once you cross off the switchbacks, will probably be better. We ran into some logistic problems on the other side with the railing up there. So there's going to be a metal post on the outside that counts people, and then a integrated counter that will be installed in the trails paved asphalt area that will count bikes, wheelchairs, any form of mobility, scooters. So we're looking forward to getting those installed. We really like that area, and we definitely are looking forward to getting more details there. Next slide. Our second location is the Gwynns Falls Trailhead at Carroll Park. That's located right beside the golf course. So we're looking at right when you enter Gwynns Falls Trailhead, pretty much right past the sign, just to catch folks coming in and out. And we think that's gonna be a really good part right there. That trail definitely has enough space, so there was no logistical problems with installation. So we're looking forward to having that there. Next slide. The third, this is a new spot that we picked. We actually had picked the Inner Harbor to be the spot, but we deviated away from picking that because there's already trail counters down there, and it's a whole lot of redevelopment plan to go down there. So we decided to move it to the Gwynns Falls Trailhead in Middle Branch. Some portions of that trail has been repaved, but we're looking at the lower part of the trail that's closer to the waterfront. So it can either be on the left or the right side. We're still working out a little bit of logistics right there, but it'll be the same installation of the pole counter for the people and the stall counter in the trailway to get all the other forms of mobility. And the last slide for the trail counters. And our fourth location will be at Herring Run Park. This is the entrance at Bel Air Road. So if you look at the second picture, it's a little bit right past the movie shed, as they would call it. That's a good space. It's actually a lot of walkers that go through there. So we're hoping to get a really high pedestrian count, and about a foot ahead of where we want to put that trail counter, there's a path, a walkable path. I believe some people mountain bike it as well, that leads into the woods. So it's like a double opportunity to get a lot of counts there. And the final slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about our grant program. For the fiscal year of 2022-2023, we were able to, we give out community grants every year, but one of our partners that we gave one to was Black People Ride Bikes, who is led by Dr. Nia Reed Jones. She wasn't able to make it today. She's doing the training, so I told her I would fill y'all in on some of the works that that grant helped provide. So this grant is one of the main pieces that help support their annual cyclovia. Looking forward to that this year. So if you want more information on that, you can go to their website, and I believe it should be up already. But some of the activities that that grant was able to make happen was last year's cyclovia. They do a lot of classes on psychoeducation. They led over 20 rides. They did 2 bike giveaways at some of their events. And then they have other youth cycling activities, travel. They did some speaking engagements, and then a lot of advocacy. Black People Ride Bikes has been helping us a lot last year with our advocacy around the trails and getting folks out. They actually led our first year of rides last year. We're looking forward to them hosting more this summer. So just a snapshot of how much they was able to reach. They were able to estimate to reach close to 500 to 1,000 people. And that's when you pretty much count in their social media accounts and their overall online community. So we're really happy to have them as a partner, and we look forward to working with them more this year. Thank you all for giving me the time.
Thank you, Mike. All right, so we're going to jump to the Boston Street Connector.
All right, so hi everybody. So I'm John. I'm the interim bike planner in Patrick's absence. So I'll be going over a quick little update on this part of the Greenway Trails here. So this is the Boston Street Connector. So we are finalizing the bikeways agreement with HMDOT currently. We have an on-call consultant that's preparing the scope of work as well. We have the notice to proceed that's expected by March, so that'll be starting here pretty soon, and we hope to kick off outreach in early May. Yep. So thank you. And for this project here, we have Ethan, who will speak on the Warner Street project.
Hello, this is Ethan Cohen from the planning department. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So Warner Street's a unique one. So this is a project for total rebuild, utilities, subsurface, surface, and streetscaping it's actually Warner Street and Stockholm Street in the entertainment district north of the casino and fronting on Topgolf. So the limits you can see in the area map go from, I believe that's Worcester Street, north of the casino, follows Warner Street to West Austin Street at the entrance to M&T Bank Stadium parking lots, and then it goes from Warner Street along Stockholm Street alongside Topgolf to Sharp Street. And so the Warner Street south of Stockholm Street and Stockholm Street are part of the Gwynns Falls Trail. So north of here, it connects to the Gwynns Falls Trail, which is on street, going up Sharp Street into Solo Gibbs Park, and then its way to the Inner Harbor. So the improvements there are being done in partnership with the casino developer. So they are doing it as a turnkey construction project for the city. Engineering documents are done. The project went out to bid. There's a financing agreement with the city that was amended and passed BOE about a month ago. And so that should start construction, we're told, around April. So fourth quarter of FY24 or second quarter of the year. And construction is anticipated to take about 18 months. So it's exciting because that will have a really sort of fully developed trail facility within the street right away, and that is happening. So, any questions? And this is part of another project. This is part of the next project. I think we're going to talk about as a design project for the Gwynns Falls Middle Branch Trail from the Inner Harbor to about this point. So this is, yeah. Is someone from DOT? I can comment on this if someone from DOT is not able, but
yeah, if you want to talk about this, that would be great because she couldn't attend.
Right. So Micah Zaslow is the project manager for this. So this is we don't want to say old, it's a legacy project. It's an older transportation alternatives program grant to the city, which has been quite a challenging process in getting administered through federal requirements for procurement and NEPA, but it's now being scoped. And so the original limits for this study were from the Inner Harbor through the Federal Hill neighborhood to Solo Gibbs Park, down to Sharp Street, to Stockholm Street and Warner Street. So there's an opportunity here potentially with that grant to pick up some other scope and design for other sections of the trail. Because a major part of the limits in this grant area, as you see in this rendering from several years ago, this is the view down Stockholm Street, and Topgolf would now be to your left where the trees are. So this would be going into design, taking a 30% design package to 100% design. And scoping just kicked off for this last week. But I think there may be I think we're talking about with Micah from DOT, and the consultant, we're looking at maybe a little bit of a broader sort of reset on the scoping to see if there are other opportunities within the budget to pick up some other segments as we head down to Middle Branch from here. And that's those two.
Thank you, Ethan. There are a couple of questions in the chat. One is about the connection. It says, any chance we can get something done between Austin and Stockholm? Is that in any of the design plans coming forward?
Austin and Stockholm. The project, if you go back, I'm not sure, if you go back one slide, the location map, it will be improved so the blue line is the project area, And so while that's not, so that's a little spur off of the trail route that will be improved from Stockholm, which is the blue line, north to Austin, which is at the entrance to MT Stadium parking lots. So that whole streetscape in that, the whole Warner Street streetscape will be improved, and we'll have the pedestrian and bike facility within the right of way. I'm not seeing the chat, so let's see, here we go. Show chat. Anything else?
Let's see on the chat, Ellen. I'll just note, we're at for the tie-in on Sharp Street. So currently, the project limits do end pretty much right at that rail crossing.
Yeah.
And just tying back into the existing facility.
Yeah, I can comment on that. I mean, the in front of the old Checker Stop brewery location, that faces on Sharp Street between Austin and Stockholm. So that's not part of the Warner Street project, not part of the project going into construction this spring, but it will be part of Sharp Street itself will be part of the final design package going forward from the design study. So we'll be able to look at, while we're doing the construction on Warner Street, we'll be doing the design for what Sharp Street would look like and how it would then connect from Solar Gibbs Park to Stockholm Street.
So thank you for that clarity. Appreciate that.
Sure.
All right. Any other questions regarding what was just presented? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to the next agenda topic.
Hey guys, so like we said, the person who was supposed to present is not feeling well, so hopefully good intentions for her and that she feels better. I'll just be talking about the MLK side path, and John will answer any questions. So it's a two-tier selection process underway with assistance from our tech division, that's our engineering and construction division. And we're going to be advancing from 30% to 100% design plans with an off-street facility with some intersection improvements that you can see on the right side of the screen. So some possible project limit changes is going to be MLK from Utah, from North Utah to Washington Boulevard. And then we are, that was the previous, and now we're considering MLK from West Reed to Russell Street at Hamburg Street. So if you guys have any questions, you can obviously see some of the existing deficiencies on the side and the proposed improvements to the far right of the slide. So any questions there, we will try to answer. And if we don't have the answer today, we will get back to you.
All right, Bill Walker, I see your hand up, sir.
Live by MLK, long been involved with issues there. Kind of hard to figure out exactly what there is. There going to be any community meetings or whatever to further do this?
So that answer is most definitely yes, and I can definitely check with the project manager and give you a more definite answer for sure.
I'm happy to try to be a connection as to that and everything as a longtime community person and the living proof that you can cycle when you're not young and skinny. Be happy to try to facilitate those discussions and whatever.
Appreciate that offer. We will definitely loop you in. But yes, with all of these projects, anytime that we are moving through design, there is going to be that community engagement element. And it's great that we utilize this commission and the participants in these meetings to be able to do that. So thank you very much, sir, for volunteering to assist us with that. And we'll keep you in the loop on that. All right. Any other questions on this one? Not, we'll go ahead to the next topic.
All right, so I know that we spoke about the 4 Rail to Trails bike counters already. This is the bike count program from our side of things. So these slides are at the last MBAC as well. So this picture on the right here shows the 10 current counter locations. It shows the timeline and the history for the project. So we have accomplished everything up until the more installations there at the end. So one of my primary projects as the bike planner, I'll be trying to have these installed by June. So this is definitely a big topic for me going forward, and I'm excited to add more bike counters to this area for sure. You can go to the next slide. So we were able to launch the program in the winter of 2023, and this here shows our key objectives moving forward. So there was a question earlier about will this info be available to the public, and it will. Number 7 on this list here shows that we'll be working to create a public interface to share so people can see, which bike lanes are being used the most and that they're actually being used, and there's ridership for all of these lanes. And I think that's going to help a lot of the public opinion going forward once they can see that these bike lanes are in fact being used. So yes, it's a very exciting project, and I'm excited to move forward.
All right, so that's going to roll us right into completed and upcoming projects. We want to start with the recently completed Mount Royal Avenue Road Diet. Did we talk about that yet? Because I don't recall seeing that.
Yeah, so if you go one slide over, that'll have it on there.
All right.
Oh, one slide forward. Cool.
There we go.
Okay, so this was also on the last MBAC as well. I kind of used the slide, but I made the update at the end here. So we see BG&E utility construction. So this bike facility has been 90% constructed completely, and there's only about a small portion left that is being held up because of BG&E utility construction on Mount Royal Avenue. So I've been in contact with the BG&E counterparts, and they hope to have their construction done by June or July of this summer, August at the latest. Then we'll be able to complete the final segment and have this project be 100%. So.
I believe I saw a hand up. Jed, you had a quick question on that one?
Yeah, I know the original plans that were presented to the community and online included the actual facility extending beyond St. Paul Street to a connection at Guilford Avenue in street, not along the side path. And it also included a connection northbound along the Guilford Avenue Bridge. And I'm just wondering if those are still planned, and if not, why?
Yeah, so the first one that you mentioned to Guilford, that is still planned. That is what's kind of, because their construction for BG&E is going around that area as well. So that's why we're being held up on that. For the what was the next part of your question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I guess the plan set on Streets of Baltimore just has it in street, not on the shared use path from essentially St. Paul Street all the way to Guilford. And then it also has a section that goes north on Guilford to Oliver Street. And that was like the really exciting part of this was for me, it was calming that intersection of Guilford and and Mount Royal. So.
Yeah, for sure. So that's still that should still be the plan. Plans haven't changed. It's just that we've just been held up with construction, but I can definitely double check that for you as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands, so we'll go ahead and move to the next one.
And this is Clea. We touched on the multimodal specific projects earlier. So I'm just going to highlight a couple other upcoming projects that our Tech, Transportation, Engineering, and Construction division has recently initiated. These are all just beginning design, and so they would have about a 3-year design and 3-year construction anticipated timeline. But for the first one, some Johnston Square improvements. We're looking at streetscape upgrades on Preston and Biddle streets from Falls Road to Eden Street. There are existing bike lanes on these corridors, but we would be looking at traffic calming measures and just safety treatments, ADA upgrades, that kind of thing. Similarly, North Avenue pedestrian improvements from Mount Royal to Hilton Street. So over on the west side, this is sort of a continuation of a lot of the efforts that we saw with the North Avenue Rising project, just continuing ADA upgrades and also sort of highlighting certain high crash intersections for some more specific safety treatments. But those are primarily sidewalk, pedestrian lighting improvements, not roadway improvements. And then some other corridor segments that are not as multimodal specific, but just of course good for awareness, and they will have complete streets elements. We have the next segment of Bel Air Road identified for streetscape reconstruction. It's the northern segment up by Fleetwood, Glenmore Ave to the city line. And then we were also looking at Pennsylvania Avenue from North Ave to MLK, full streetscape reconstruction, and just looking at safety improvements along there. And finally, Orleans Street rehab from Washington Street to Elwood Ave. And yeah, I'll just reiterate, these are just kicking off the design process, so they will all have multiple community outreach meetings planned along with each design phase. And yeah, really excited that we're just kicking off some more great projects. Thanks all. And I can take any questions on these as well, although yeah, and either I'll be able to field them or we can send them to the specific tech project manager if more info is needed. Is Preston Biddle being considered for upgrade to a side path or separated lane? I would say considered, yes. We are just literally at the very beginning of scoping and planning, so there is sort of an initial phase that'll be kicking off with some DOT planners aiding in that. So yeah, the exact scope of treatments has not yet been identified.
So during the community outreach portion, we will be fielding a little bit more of those recommendations or requests so that we can take those into consideration.
I believe that is the intent, yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, awesome. Any other questions on that information? Thank you very much, Clea.
Thanks all.
All right. So we were able to get through this action-packed agenda rather smoothly, so I do appreciate that. Are there other questions based upon the information that was presented that maybe you hadn't thought about or have not dropped in the chat? We will do our best for those questions that were put in the chat that we did not provide a full response for. We will go back and hopefully be able to drop something in to update folks regarding those. Is there anything that anyone wants to add? I'm not sure why my camera went like that, but is there anything anyone wants to update the group on today while we have this forum?
I did just want to say thank you to all the city staff who were able to present today, because we've brought in a lot of different folks to talk about a lot of different topics, and just a lot of gratitude for all your hard work.
Yes, I definitely second that sentiment. Appreciate the efforts that went behind the scenes. And we will be getting our active commissioners more involved in some of the strategic sessions that we'll be having. And we'll be talking about that a little bit further down the line. But we do ask that if you have anyone that you know that would be a good addition to this, or if you yourself was not a full-fledged commissioner but would be interested in joining as such, we ask that you go ahead and take part of the application process or share that with those folks that you think will be able to bring meaningful conversation and perspective to this project and initiative. Are there any other questions before we close out for the day?
Thank you all for your work.
Thank you. I appreciate your input and engagement. So with that, I thank you all. Appreciate the time that everyone has put up. A quick question came up. What is the status of the Utah cycle track? Are we able to speak to that today, or is that something we would have to come back to?
Yeah, I can speak on that real quick. That has been placed on a temporary hold.
All right. Do we know the source of the hold? Are we able to share that?
I think that was due to the lack of staffing, but I think that's definitely going to continue here very shortly.
Okay, so it was put on a hold due to staffing restraints. But once we are filling the positions that we have posted, then we'll be able to have the capacity to move forward. Okay. Any other questions? All right, so with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Seconded.
Thank you, Eli. Can I get a third?
I'll third it.
Thank you. All right, so with that, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. Please enjoy the rest of your evening and have a very productive rest of your week. Talk to you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.